So let me ask you something about the funding model. I think at Ashoka, you guys have raised together something like 3,500 crores over a 12, 15-year period. At Plaksha, you raised about 1,500 crores over an 8-year period. And the model is collective philanthropy with a bunch of people coming together. So how does collective philanthropy work? What patterns are emerging? What challenges did you face, and why collective philanthropy as opposed to individual one? Pramath, if I can start with you.
Yeah, I can quickly start and look, this whole experiment actually started with ISB. And that was the first time that we tried to implement this. And that was really driven by the fact that if you looked at the great universities of the world, nobody owns them. No one person, no one entity, no one corporation, no one foundation, no one enterprise owns the university. The moment you say that this is owned by Nalin or Pramath or Hitesh, the best academics will not join you because they don't want to work for some individual or some entity. They want to work for the university, which is owned by no one. Yet, anybody who's part of the university, whether it's a student or a faculty or an alumnus, feel like they own the university. Hitesh mentioned IIT. I mean, he's passionate about IIT Delhi. I'm passionate about IIT Kanpur, and I'll fight him anytime to say we were better than them. And I have nothing to do with IIT Kanpur, nor does he have
any... Do you guys also fight on the boards on Plaksha and Ashoka?
No, we don't actually. But the point is that everybody owns it and yet nobody owns it. And how do you replicate that? So our solution was, and plus you have to raise money. If one of us can put in all the money like an Azim Premji or a Shiv Nadar or a Munjal to build a university or a Jindal to build a university in their name, we could have done that. But if we want to build a university where we don't have enough money to build it and you have to go and ask lots of people, you take money from lots of people, but you tell them all that regardless of how much money you give me, you'll only get one vote. So you don't have decision rights that are proportionate to the donation you've given. And that was tough to implement, but the success at ISB emboldened us to do it at Ashoka, and then Plaksha is doing the same. That's one big thing that is a real innovation that actually nobody talks about.
So I want to ask you this a little bit more on this. So in theory, from the outside, collective philanthropy sounds very good. Okay, one person, one vote, no matter. But you also then have, for example, recently you've raised 70 crores with Bini Bansal for the center. Ashoka has also got named centers. So what happens on those kinds of things, right? So does it really work like that, or it's different?
So, you know, I'll just add a little bit to what Pramath said about collective philanthropy, and then I'll answer your question. See, the other big advantage I see of collective philanthropy is that it allows individual philanthropists to dream big and to think big. Because a project like Ashoka will ultimately require maybe $1 billion. A Plaksha will require $1 billion if you aspire to build a Stanford of India or a Harvard of India or whatever you may, right? And it's often not possible for an individual to sort of do that, right? At the same time, I've also realized that with collective philanthropy, you know, many people are now partners in the project and they want the project to succeed. And the money is just one aspect. They, enough of them contribute, enough of our founders and the Ashoka founders, for example, contribute with their time. They open their networks. They help us hire faculty. They help us place students. They help us connect with industry, our academics with industry. So there are so many benefits when you have a lot of like-minded people working together towards a common mission, right? Now, as far as see, what Pramath mentioned was that no matter how much money you give to the institute, you have one vote, which is how collective philanthropy works at both Ashoka and Plaksha. But there are there's a gift tree, for example, at Plaksha and also at Ashoka, that you can get naming rights if you donate more or if you contribute more. So, for example, at Plaksha we have a Bharti Airtel building, we have a Havells building, we have a HDFC center. Bini Bansal is now funding the institute, Innovation Institute. Harish Shah has sort of funded the AI center, right? So, you know, so we've got this whole thing where you can, if you want, you know, you can sort of do much more for the institution. But from a governance standpoint, from a voting standpoint, you have only one.
Right. So, is the pool of funders increasing? Are you guys working on raising more funds, and how's that?
Yeah, I think what is remarkable, Nalin, and I think it's driven by entrepreneurs like Hitesh and others. I think you're seeing a large accumulation of wealth in the country, and people who've come from modest backgrounds who want to give back. So this is not family jewels and family wealth inherited from, those people are also contributing. But a lot of people who've benefited from the liberalized India over the last 30 years have really come into a lot of money and are very philanthropically oriented. And I have seen that journey because I started raising money, got involved in raising money for ISB 30 years ago. At that time, we would go to the usual suspects, the big families, the big names. You look at the people contributing to Ashoka and Plaksha, the list is very different from the ISB list. So it's no names that didn't exist, some even names today who people don't know. Who is this person?
So in some ways, it's also a story of Indian capitalism. When I was
Absolutely. I think it's amazing to see, and honestly, it's heartwarming. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is one of our big donors. Yesterday, we did a lecture in his name in Bombay. A lot of people don't know that he was ready to give away most of his wealth in philanthropy.